keep track of what's happening so that we can get some success ratios out of this. So Evan is still signing an agent. Do you want to call?
Let's roll. That's awesome.
How was your race? Welcome back from Atlanta.
Getting Sam Golden, Kelly Harris, Quake Payton, Seth Pell, Patrick James, Michael King, Christy Mock, Reed Moore, Tony Morey, Stephanie Olendorf. Actually, not Dorf, because you call it. Yeah, okay, we'll call it Steve. It's actually all yours, probably. It cuts off after the 8, we're not sure. We know how these things work. All right. All right, Amy Peltier, Brady Pennington, Carrie Jo Perkins, Clinton Peterson, Dan Potts, Brittany Radford, Meehan Reed, Steve Renner, John Rodriguez, Anna Schulman, Diane Shearer, Christy Schellenberger, Brian Sherburn, Jackson Sen. All right, Stuart Smith, Mace Bray. Okay, watch out. Just a stock up.
Leverage.
Leverage. Liz Steele. Oh, how fun. Yeah, Kat, do the first one. Cool. Yep, you guys did fun. Caroline Soriano. Derek Suter. Derek Suter, Jesse Tanner, Ryan Carlson, Jason Trout, Ando Rivera. Ando. All right, Darrell Alden, Tanya
Dudley? With sound effects as well.
Okay, so awesome stuff on good grief. You guys cannot even believe. Let me just pull this number up.
Real quickly. So we've only had about 5 business days this month. You guys have already closed 93 units this month. We're already at 605,000 in GCI. Know that we paid out about 1.8, 1.9 million January, February, March. So we are going to have a killer April. It's like kind of ridiculous. Yeah, Marcy has just been going nuts with all kinds of closings, so it's exciting. Okay, so other announcements. 4 disciplines of execution. We talked about 66-day challenge. April 17th. Mark your calendars now. We have not had an annual all-partner meeting annually in about 1.5 years, so we're going to do another one at 3 o'clock at the Lusac Library. So if you, that is for everybody. We're going to do some market overview. We're going to kind of look at the end of the first quarter, go into some stats pretty heavily. We'll have full quarter behind us, so we can look and do some projections going forward. So that's April 17th at, we do get the Lusac, right? At the Lusac. Potentially, if you guys ask nicely, Joe Bell may volunteer to do the whiteboard TCT stand. I think if we all ask nicely, he would do that. Yes. Does that mean texting 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock. Yep, 3 o'clock. Exactly. Okay, so before we launch into teaching, I've got Janice and Jesse here to, next week, you wanted to talk. Janice and Jesse are here. Yeah. Hi to Janice and Jesse. And really appreciate that they've been sponsoring and helping out with food and some snacks and beverages for 66-day challenge people, which has been super cool. So thank you for supporting that. 3rd floor, talk to them, and then we've got Christy. Where'd you go, Christy? Where's Hudson?
Hudson.
Right, there you are. And Lindsay, both here from residential. Anything you guys want to throw out, add, share? Anything exciting?
Rates dipped slightly on the FHA.
Did they?
Yep.
Tell your clients if they already lost.
Yeah, don't tell your
Good tip.
But a nightmare for everyone. I shared this with Jen, and she said that you guys have seen some stuff upstairs too.
Yes.
That
Thank you.
You know, when a market shifts, there's always a learning curve. I talked about appraisals, but you're also seeing where when it was a buyer's market, new agents would come in and you'd get these contracts and you're like, you can't legally write that in a contract. Can you please fix this and resend it back to me? And now it's changing to a seller's market. So we're seeing newer agents come in who get listings And all of a sudden, we're getting to the closing table and the seller didn't know they had to come in with funds to close because they never did the net sheet.
You guys seen that in
Or-
China?
That's what I was just gonna talk about.
So
Look at that.
they didn't even, they, and this has happened more than once, that the seller was not prepared that if they paid any closing costs, they might have to do repairs. Things that a seasoned agent or an agent who's newer, who's being mentored, would know to do in a listing, but not necessarily. So it gets into what Jen talks about. Sometimes you pick things up for the other side to make sure your transaction goes well. So if you're talking to someone and they sound like, geez, maybe they don't know. I don't know how you would be like, hey, P.S., does your seller know if they're coming in with money or not? But just feel out the other side. when you're
Well,
going
I
through
think the big
process.
thing is that's why you choose great vendor partners like Integrity Title and Residential Mortgage, because we know that Janice and Christy and Lindsay are excellent, and Chris, who's not here, but excellent top-notch lenders that do troubleshoot those things. And so when you've got a partner with you that you can call Janice or Lindsay or Christy and be like, okay, I'm getting a bad feeling on this. I don't know that the other agent has prepped a seller. Sometimes if they ask the question, it's not offensive. Like, it's not you calling and going, have you done your job? You know, and they go, what are you talking about? So that's why it's great to have good partners you're doing business with, because they can help you have those tough conversations.
And Integrity Title, we do have the net sheet that you can take before your listing on an Excel and in the hard copy.
Did everybody
So if you
hear
come
that?
and see me before you go, I can help with the fees as well.
I can't tell you the number of people that text me on Friday night at 8 o'clock and say, do you have a net sheet form? No, not right now. I mean, this is the tool is right there for you. And if you're not running a net sheet, I know that all of our people are, I know you guys are doing a great job, but if you need any tweaking or help, ask Title, ask Lindsay and Christy and just say, hey, what am I missing here? Am I doing it right? Last thing you need is surprises, especially on tax prorations.
We have 5 prelims right now. Of course, none of them are Keller Williams agents.
Honestly?
It's all other licenses.
Seriously?
And every single, all 5 of them are surprise seller, and one of the sellers, it's $30,000. Not even like a little bit close here. So that's DFT. So
Yeah, that
as we've
takes
got
it
the
close.
prelim and saw 2 deeds of trust, you know, they haven't paid their HOA dues in a year and a half.
Attorney fees, interest,
Yeah,
it's
so
all
getting
added.
this with their payout is inherited at the listing. Yeah.
Okay, so good tip, I hope, yes, Sean.
They do the situation I'm having right now with sellers is that since we have such a tight inventory market and they feel they can push their purchase price higher, we have an appreciating market, we're gonna run into that, yeah, we can get a buyer and a seller to agree on price, but that does not mean we can get appraisal to come in.
Yeah.
And,
You're right.
and we're gonna be seeing prices get pushed significantly.
Yep, and you gotta prep your sellers.
Yeah.
We, okay, I'm just gonna say this, this is a safe room, right? Nobody's gonna repeat anything that was said out of here.
It is on video.
You're gonna turn that off right now.
Earmuffs. Earmuffs.
I saw an addendum that came across our files yesterday that said, this was the exact language. I am not making, Butch will tell you, I'm not making this up or exaggerating. Seller realizes that he was lowballed by the appraisal and unhappily agrees to reduce the purchase price to XXX.
That's humorous though.
Now what's interesting, that's awesome. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed. I laughed really hard.
Yeah.
And then Butch goes, you can't put that stuff out there. And I'm like, okay, but it was funny. I can just see the seller. Fine, but you're gonna say I'm not happy about it. But here's my point. What's interesting is I was having a conversation about it with one of our top agents, and he told me that out of his last 10 transactions, 9 of the appraisals have come in low. So get real clear, guys, your comps, and why is this? Let's just be smart for a second. Comps go back how long? 6 months. What did the market look like 6 months ago? Not great. Well, not this. I mean, it was great, but not this. It's moving faster than the comps keep up. By the way, don't ream your appraiser. They don't control the fact that the comps are 5 months old. Now, they've got to be smart and make adjustments, but it's not an easy thing to move with the market when the comps aren't there. This is also why it's so important to put your FSBO deals into MLS. We need the data. If you close a deal that's not in MLS, if there's any way to get that data in there, and the other side, the non-represented party will let you input it, you are doing the industry a good service by putting that data out there. Otherwise, nobody knows the comp is there and the appraisers can't use it. We need comps desperately. So really have a great conversation with your sellers about, if we're pushing the market, here's what I cannot guarantee you. Does that make sense? Sean?
It just happened with Vino on duplex. I didn't agree 525 and Trey looking at 514, but that was $10,000 for closing cost assistance, and buyers prepared that they didn't get it, they had to put their own money, sellers prepared to reduce if that was the case. But we're going to have to be prepared to have both buyer accept that. You got to have money yourself.
Have the conversations early. Diet, and then Christine and Dave.
We have found it easier to try to stick to a 3-month history as
When you're
opposed to
pricing?
a 6 when we're pricing. And the conversation that I have with the sellers is, this is the price that I could validate to an appraiser. This is where we're going to go ahead and go out in case we can get it, and this is the one that you need to be ready for.
Yeah, yeah, this is the number they,
Right.
yeah,
Anything above this is a gift.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Christine?
And what that plays into is a scenario I just had late last night, this morning, was one of our KW Realtors clients missed out on 3 different properties because the lender they were using, they're no longer using them, would not offer a higher rate to pay fees because she needed it all paid. Lender never had the conversation. We'll ignore the fact that that rate that they were offering was 0.375 higher than market rate. We'll ignore that for a second. But without lowering any fees whatsoever. And so really that's just another tool that we're using more now than we've been doing before. No one likes a higher rate. But if the seller doesn't have the funds,
Yeah.
or appraisal comes in low and buyers have, then that's what we can do to absorb
great.
some of it and meet that difference.
Hey, this is why you have a smart lender that you work with, guys. If your lenders aren't having these conversations with you, there's 3 of them sitting here, and, I mean, just be smart. Dave and then Jen.
One thing that I ran into the last couple of weeks is where the buyer was worried about maybe the appraisal coming in, not coming in, really wanted the house, offered to pay closing costs of the seller,
Yeah, you had that one,
which is
yeah.
a little bit, a little bit funky, because usually the seller's paying the buyer's closing costs,
Right.
but you can also do it the other way and bring the price down
Right.
and have the seller still get the same amount, and the buyer's
net.
happy with the price, but the appraisal's the problem, so have the buyer pay seller's closing costs.
And that, particularly that property that Dave's talking about is a luxury, high-end home where you're really running a risk of that happening. So that's really proactive thinking. It's Dave's listing, but it's really proactive thinking on the buyer's agent's part to say, when we're looking at a very, very high price point, there's a good, I mean, you don't have hardly any comps to begin with, to work
Crapshoot
with.
there, for sure.
Huh?
It's a crapshoot there. for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Jen,
One thing,
you're on camera.
nice. With listings, I've been counseling a lot of buyer agents is if an appraisal does come in low, go back to your lender and say, don't give me your padded cost sheet. I don't want your CYA cost sheet. I want you to look at the dates. I want you to look at this with the new price and tell me how much in closing costs I'm gonna get.
What's our real number?
Because if you're fighting over $2,000 that you don't need,
Yeah,
it's just dumb. You're gonna DFT a deal over money that you never actually needed.
right.
And a lot of buyers forget that their earnest money is there too. So
Can we
there's
push the
still
date
room.
out longer so we have fewer days of prorations?
Exactly.
Maybe if it's that close, that could be, I mean, that could be the difference maker.
We've saved more deals or negotiated more deals just doing that, because then we can come back and we can say, hey, we're gonna meet you halfway. We're not really meeting them halfway, we didn't need the costs, but I'm not necessarily telling the listing licensee that. But I mean, that's a really smart way to do it, because you're basically saying, hey, we can come in with some money too, and you were gonna leave it on the table anyway.
Any other thoughts on the appraisal issue? Please don't write an addendum that says that, by the way. As funny as it was, and it was. Okay, yes, Mark.
Well, if you're not, when you find out who the appraiser is, if you don't know who it is, interview them, call them up, interview them.
Can't do that. Sure you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
can.
can.
Absolutely.
Not while they're in the process of doing the appraisal.
We can talk to them.
It's ordered, they gotta, if you're the listing licensee, they're supposed to call you and find out when they can get in.
He was lying.
He's wrong.
But,
Actually, she.
are they a resident? Where do they live? Are they a resident?
Yeah, are they in
Are
Glen
they an
Allen or
MLS
are they in
member?
Anchorage? No, seriously, there's some great questions. I mean, do you
Are
want?
they part of the Alaska database for the appraisers?
Are you still looking at that?
I'm looking at your house right now on Google Earth.
And be nice and show up at the appraisal with coffee, you know?
Andy,
Are we able to say that we won't use a certain appraiser?
No.
and some,
With clause.
So we've had like 12 appraisals come in low this year, and 10 of them were all the same appraiser.
well, somebody needs to send in some flowers and chocolate and, yeah, no, you're kind of, we used to.
Yeah.
Back in the good old days, you
Can't
even,
say
Fred through back in the good
before
old
transition.
the layers of, I don't know what they're called, but the layers that keep you from them, again, years, 2, 3, 4 years ago, you'd even get like a one strike, you know. Okay, you get to turn down like one appraisal and then you get the next draw, but they've even gone away from that now. So totally stuck. Okay, we've got to move on. Stephanie, Jen, and Phyllis, real quick.
Just real quick, somebody out in the valley, an agent said that you're able to report an appraiser to the lender, and the lender can take them out of rotation if they have enough negative
You
feedback.
can, I mean, you can tell them, I mean, I'm gonna be real honest with you, it's gonna take a long time and a lot of reporting for any lender to take any action against an appraisal. I just wouldn't, absolutely you can. I would not put your cards in the, you know, count your chickens or whatever, that, man, this is gonna be really effective. It's kinda like filing a complaint. Like when your clients say, I'm filing a complaint with the real estate commission, okay, go ahead. You know, when it's something silly, like they're mad because they lost a multiple offer situation, there's not much it's gonna do. Lindsay?
We called the appraisal ordering department the other day to ask.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get someone out of rotation? And they said the complaint has to be justified for showing how the appraisal itself is not so it's not even there weren't better comps that they could have used. It's literally they over-adjusted on net or gross adjustment, or they completely did not appraise a certain area that
It's gotta
they
be like
should
total
have.
incompetence.
It
Not
literally
just,
has to
we didn't
be
like the
a
adjustments,
huge
yeah.
violation, not just they came in low or they came in really high. They have to go back to the guidelines of what that investor requires for an appraisal and show how they meet that.
So backup plan B is Nate knows where they live. Stephanie, Phyllis, and somebody else, we're researching too. Phyllis.
Okay, so, one of the things you can do too, without going to the lender, because the appraisers are not allowed to talk to lenders in certain circumstances after they've done the appraisal. So what you can do is everybody back in the old days had their own appraisers that you used to work with, and blah, blah, blah. So you're talking about the FSBOs, getting that information to the, online. Send your appraisals to the people that you used to work with. They will, because there is a board for the appraisers that get, and I actually found a problem with one of the things that they had used, or they shouldn't have, on a comp. Send it to that favorite appraiser that you used to use, and he or she will help you with that, and say, this is what you need to do to direct it, to get them out of the rotation. Because there is investigations going on, I know for a fact right now with a few appraisers. So send your appraiser, they love them, because then they have those comps too. So send them to the other appraisers, all the time. You get an appraiser from somebody, send it to your favorite appraiser.
Get input, get advice, get counsel. Any other comments or thoughts on that? Awesome. Okay, so, literally the awards like weigh a ton, because you guys did so much. So I am going to, I told Allison and Shana and Evan and Janine, this could literally take the entire team meeting, so I'm going to fly through these. But holy Hannah, you guys did a lot. So written sales volume, congrats to Brandy Kroom, 503,900. Dustin Laura, thank you. Dustin Laura, 515,400. Brandy and Irvin Malcutt, 570,500. Denny Woods, Alaska Homes Team, 595,000. 17.5. July Leslie, 628.9. Again, this is written volume. Bob Bolding, 642,000. The Brothers Night, did we make up that name for them, or is that their name? Casey and Jesse, 646. Vinnie Clark, 666,400. Tara Van Orstel, 689,900. Derek Suter, 699. The Pooling Group wrote 705,000. Jesse Tanner, 763,220. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop real quick, just put in a plug for Brad and Jesse. Those of you, I've told you this before, but I don't know that everybody is aware. Their team business is called Aralic Investments. They're flippers. Brad and Jesse do fixing and flipping. They do Anchorage properties. Their big value proposition is that if you call them on a listing lead you have that works